Hi, hello everybody. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Sarah Rogers. I am the COO at Phoenix Development. I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Um, I want to welcome to our Rebuilding with Resilience webinar. This is a special topic. It's going to be a little bit different than what we've done previously. Many homeowners are rebuilding, and we're all facing kind of the same difficult question: Are we going to rebuild the same way, or do we really think about rebuilding something that's more resilient? Most everyone that we talk to is pretty overwhelmed by the rebuilding process. There's lots of questions. Trying to understand what materials actually perform better is very difficult. And that's why we created this webinar. Um, so first, I like to start off our presentation with our mission. It's very simple: forever homes for everyone. That means that we believe in homes that are accessible, thoughtfully designed, and really built to perform, not just today, but for generations. And we believe resilience is not a luxury upgrade. This should just be the new standard in the way that we build. Um, I'll I'll walk you quickly through what we're going to cover today. Sorry, my little dog is barking. We're going to start with some brief introductions. I'm going to introduce you to the Phoenix team. We're going to clarify what non-combustible construction actually means beyond just the marketing language that you're probably getting from salespeople that gets very much thrown around with us. We're going to touch on our streamlined design build process, how we keep projects aligned and moving forward. And we're going to move into talking about rebuilding sustainably. And we have three very special guests here today. I'd love to welcome Mike Hendrickson from HPT Lake. He installs our Mitsubishi HVAC systems. I have Matt Sexton from Badass Energy here. He does our solar. And Mike Donovan from EcoSIM. So you're going to get some really amazing, great information. And so thank you, all three of you, for being here today. This is a Q&A live format. I'd love for you to please drop any question you have at any time in the chat. We're going to be monitoring it, and we're going to make sure that every single question that gets asked is answered. Feel free to put it in the global chat. You can message me directly if you don't want it to be public, and I'll make sure it's asked. Just a few housekeeping notes. Please keep your microphone muted. If you don't and we hear some noise, we'll probably mute it for you. And this webinar is being recorded and it's available on our YouTube channel. So we usually upload it the next day. If you miss it or you want to revisit it, you can find it there. So let me introduce our team. This is the team you'll see here with us today. This is Laurie. She's our CEO. She's a California registered architect. She truly leads the architecture vision here. She's been a licensed architect for over 30 years. And we're going to let her share in just a few minutes a little bit how she started Phoenix. I'm Sarah Rogers. I work as the COO. I keep our projects aligned, organized, and really stand behind clear communication to make this process as easy as possible. Andre Noel, he leads our construction services. He's executing on the field. We call him the miracle worker. No small little detail passes his eye, and so he's exactly the person you want when you're getting a house built. Kendra, she leads our interior design. She ensures that all of our homes feel refined and deeply personal. She's a lovely person to work with and really helps you see the hope and vision in your new home. And Lulu, we couldn't do it without her. She manages our client care. She keeps communication throughout this entire process. She's someone that's always going to be checking in with you and making sure you know everything that's going on. And Adam oversees our permitting and our code compliance. He's permitted Phoenix homes. He knows them in and out, and he overviews all of our plans before they go to permitting, just making sure that we're not going to hit any snags along the way. We truly work as a coordinated team. Um, this alignment is really what allows us to deliver these high performance homes in a very fast and streamlined and care driven way. And we don't do it alone. Rebuilding homes like this that are truly non-combustible requires alignment not just within our team, but with the manufacturers and the materials that we use. And so these are logos of the relationships and the partnerships that have been built over time, truly through Laurie's experience, 30 years as an architect. These are the best of the best, and that's what we bring to the table. These are trusted brands, proven systems, reliable partners, and everyone you see here was chosen very intentionally. We work directly with manufacturers. When it's possible, we do direct to manufacturer pricing. And these are all things that matter because when you're building your home and it's designed to perform in real conditions and be exposed to fire, you really want to have these proven assemblies and partners that you can stand behind. So with that, I'm going to introduce Laurie. She's our founder and our CEO, and I just love for her to briefly kind of explain to you how this all got started and how we all came together.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for being here today. I know that, you know, it's a commitment to come and sit on these webinars, and we try to make them really interesting. And we have, Sarah will tell you at the end of today's webinar how you can go watch all of our past webinars too. There's a lot of good information. But thanks again for sharing your time with us. So yeah, I've been an architect for over 25 years. And I've been building with insulating concrete forms, ICF, since 2011. And I started working with fire survivors for the first time after the Tubbs fire in Santa Rosa. And I started working with 5 families in 2018. And I was just appalled at what I was seeing. And I had been volunteering with victims of violent crime. And so I'm certified in crisis intervention and trauma-informed care. And it was just ironic because here I'm doing my job with these people, but I'm seeing symptoms of trauma. And so, you know, that combined with the challenges in construction and schedules and budget, and then on top of all that, you know, like I'm like, you know what, we've really got to do something better here for these folks. And so I would ask people, what do you want most of all? And they're like, we just don't want to go through this again. You know, we don't want to go through it again. We don't want other people to go through it again. I don't want my house to burn down again. So, so I really set out to find a solution to break this cycle, and that's Phoenix development. And so if you want to move on to the next slide, Sarah, please. So what is it that we do? We are the only home builder in the United States building wood-free, non-combustible, net zero energy homes that are permitted as type 1 construction. And I know you guys are getting bombarded all the time with lots of claims of fire resistant, non-combustible manufacturers, contractors. But here's the truth. The truth is that no one material can be fully non-combustible. In a building, you're building assemblies, you're building walls, you're building floors, you're building roofs, and all of those assemblies together need to be non-combustible in order to call it that. And so, Sarah, if you want to go to the next slide, here's how the building code works. So there's actually 5 different construction types in the building code, and the only ones that are truly non-combustible are types 1 and 2. And homes are built with type 5 construction. And that is the only type that is fully combustible. So all of our homes are built as type 5 construction. And what we do for the first time is we make truly non-combustible construction attainable for single family homes, because we've been building non-combustible buildings for decades. We know how to do it. And the challenge was taking those methods and materials and adapting them to single family homes. And so I'll talk a little bit more about exactly how we do that. So Sarah, if you want to go to the next slide, please. And so here's the thing about Phoenix, we didn't just stop at non-combustible. You know, another thing that fire survivors said is they, you know, because, you know, especially it's even more so now than it was back in 2018. So as you guys know, there's all these rolling brownouts and blackouts because we have to cut power. We have to, you know, when there's a wind event or something, you know, they have to cut power. And so it's really disruptive to constantly have your power cut, you know, in your home every other week. So the other thing that people said is we don't want to be on the grid. We want to be able to continue operating our home. So we, you know, we also decided, you know what, we need to go all electric anyways. So let's just do net zero energy. And that way you don't even notice if they cut the power. So we really looked at everything that fire survivors want and everything that should really be in a home to begin with. And that's what's really incredible. So not only are we totally wood-free structure, type 1 non-combustible construction, we'll talk about the insurance a little bit later. We have multi-zoned HVAC and whole house ventilation, filtered. We have dual pane tempered windows with non-combustible exterior frames. It's so surprising how many builders are out there still putting vinyl windows in homes, and they talk about how fire resistant their structures are. It doesn't matter how fire resistant or even non-combustible it is if your windows are going to melt in the next fire. The other benefit to no wood is no termites, no pests, no rot. You don't have to worry about moisture damage from water. We have fully customizable floor plans, and we're going to talk a little bit about this too. So we do custom homes from scratch, but now we also have pre-designed homes. So we'll show you some of those too. Award-winning architecture and design. Kendra's here. She'll talk to you a little bit more about that. And honestly, this is the true forever home. It lasts generations, not decades. And so we're really, really proud and happy to walk you through that today. So this is our secret. This is our secret sauce. This is how we do it. So the big challenge to getting wood out of residential single family homes was the plywood sheathing. Whenever I talk to a firefighter, fire marshal, fire inspector, and tell them that we're doing type 1 homes, I mean, they usually like stop in their tracks. They're like, what'd you say? You know, and they're like, well, what'd you do with the sheathing? You know, that plywood sheathing that goes in the roof. What'd you guys do with that? So we have a patent pending on our Phoenix long span joist system that you see in that little animation there and in the photo. So this is from our Yosemite Lake House. And so you can see our long span joist can span up to 32 feet. We can space them up to 8 feet on center. And that's our only roof framing. And on top of that goes our insulated steel roof panels. And the guys there in the photo, they're just, you know, we're craning those roof panels into place. And then they just basically snap together. So we can frame a roof in a day and we can roof it in a day. And so if you go, Sarah, to our next slide there. So that's how we can, you know, really save time on our schedule. You know, all 3 of our homes came in and were done in 11 months, even with really difficult site conditions. And the more we do it, the better we get at it, the faster we get at it. We eliminate about 1/3 of the inspections. So, you know, between between the walls, the floor, the roof, the stucco, there's so many inspections that we don't have to have that traditional wood would normally require. So we can knock weeks and even months off of your construction schedule. And so next slide, if we want to talk about no pests, no rot, and low to no maintenance. I mean, seriously, basically, there's no painting on the exterior. You know, when you just look at a wood house, you know, in 5 to 10 years, and I know I get that, you know, we have a lot of the non-combustible cladding and stuff like that, which is very important. The enclosed eaves, all of the WUI fire resistant details, you know, we get that. That's really, really super important. But it's still wood underneath. And wood warps and checks and cracks. And as that wood starts deforming, then all the cladding that you have covering that wood is going to start coming apart as well and deforming. And so you're going to have vulnerabilities in there. 5 to 10 years, and you're going to have to paint. You're going to have to replace fascia boards. You're going to have to tent for termites. If there is ever any water damage, if you go away on vacation and a pipe breaks, you know, you're going to have to come in and replace framing. Not with a Phoenix home. None of our interior walls are load bearing. So because of our Phoenix long span system, our interior walls are light gauge steel. So if there is ever any water damage accident, you just, you know, take off the damaged finishes and you put them back, let it dry out and put them back. And if we go to the next, let's see, sorry, I'm getting a little lost here. And so, yeah, we're going to talk a little more about net zero later, and the savings, the savings that we can have, because we have Matt from Badass Energy here, so he can tell you a lot more than I can about that. But if we go to the next slide, that's a really good one. So yes, we are the first ever home builder in the United States to have an alliance with a major insurance carrier, Mercury Insurance. We formed this alliance a little over a year ago, and they decided to work with us because of the type 1. So it's not underwriters at Mercury that have to inspect our plans and inspect our homes to make sure that we're non-combustible. The building official says we're non-combustible. So that's the #1 advantage that we have over any other home builder. The other thing that really impressed Mercury was what I was talking about the water, because they were really concerned about the water. And so when they learned that there's no mold issues, you don't have to hire a structural engineer, you know, for just a, you know, minor water damage. So they were like, yep, we're sold, we're on board. So when you build a home with us, you are not only pre-qualified for an insurance policy with Mercury, but it's a screaming discount too. It's really impressive. You know, I think that alone, I think is a really good reason for wanting to sign up with us. But anyways, if we go to the next slide, you know, I want to make sure that we get through this so we have enough time for our panel. And so, you know, I do also want to talk about architecture, because, you know, that's something, obviously I'm an architect, you know, and for me, it's important for buildings to be beautiful and designed well. But if it doesn't function well, if it's not energy efficient, if it's not durable and sustainable, then in my opinion, it's not architecture. Architecture has to be all of those things, all of those things. And so, you know, here, you know, right out of the gate, 2 of our first 3 homes won 3 awards. So we really know what we're doing when it comes to design. And I think I'd, you know, probably like to hand it off to Kendra here, you know, and just, you know, and we will show you some images of some of the homes that are in design now and some that we've built. And you can see, you know, vaulted ceilings, 10-foot plus spaces, big windows. Like you can see in that's our Yosemite house on the left there. You can see right through the house to the lake, you know. So people think of, you know, ICF homes, concrete homes as looking like bunkers. Our homes don't look like bunkers. They're very spacious and light filled and beautiful. So I'm going to hand it off to Kendra Kettlehut, our senior designer, and she can tell you a little bit more about our process and what we've got coming up to share with you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Laurie. Go to the next slide. We do have just the most beautiful homes. The process that we take you through for this is very much designed to you. So all of our homes, while they might have like, this light and airy feel, they're all going to have a very specific design for you. Now, we have a process that we've done with all of our homes, but we also have some additional homes to offer. You want to go to the next slide. So we have been doing custom homes for years and years and years. And the process with that, as we've shared in previous, I'll kind of be a little bit more brief in this webinar, but we meet with you. We have a 2-hour kickoff session. We get to know you. We get to understand what it is that you're looking for to bring into this home, things that you loved from your old home, maybe things that you didn't love so much. And we want to get excited about this process. So whether it's a custom home or what we have just recently put out is our portfolio homes collection. These are going to be homes that are pre-designed. They're, in a modular type of design, but still able to be modified and flexible for you. So it's not one size fits all. We still always want to tailor our homes to you and your life and how you live, how you function in that home, the aesthetics that you love. We take all of that and we bring it into your home. So whether you go the custom route, which we have done with many of our clients, or you want to learn more about our new portfolio homes collection, which is beautiful and gives a lot of versatility for you. That's going to be really exciting for us moving forward because a lot of people have been asking for this and we heard you and we have put this together. So we are very, very excited about this. And this, regardless of whichever path you go down, we'll go through a similar design process. However, with the portfolio homes collection, it is much more streamlined. So you have to think about less. You're not starting from a blank slate. We have floor plans to start from, to build from, and we can make, modifications to those. It's really, they're meant to be flexible within the framework that we have started with. So we'll go through that process. That will be a lot faster in the beginning part, but we will still go through Vision Builder. We will still go through selecting your finishes inside and out, the windows, all of the colors and beautiful things that go into building your home to make it feel like your home. So we're very excited about this. Laurie's going to take it and show you a little bit of how we have integrated this into our website. So you want to go show them how they can kind of learn more about what we're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Kendra.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, on our website, I'm going to actually share my screen here, but it's the portfolio collection up there in the up there. And Sarah, I think you have to let me share. Oh, great. All right. So on our website, can everybody see? Got this okay? So up here is the portfolio collection. That's how you get here. And I mean, I am a real aficionado of California mid-century modern. And I think it's about time that we redefine it because we're actually in a new century. So I like to call it California 21st mid-century modern because we're actually almost to the mid-century of the 21st century, right? And kind of getting back to what I was saying about architecture, I don't care how gorgeous a building is, if it doesn't function for you. And I mean, that's the thing about that's what defines architecture from all the other arts, as far as I'm concerned. It's that architecture not only has an interior and an exterior, but it also needs to perform. So if you're just, if you're making a painting or a sculpture, it just, it has certain functions, but it doesn't need to, heat and cool and shelter you and all those other things, right? So architecture needs to do all those things and be beautiful. And so what we wanted to do is redefine that mid-century aesthetic for the 21st century. And so I believe that that is what we have done. So we have 4 options: the Esther, the Harriet, the Riley, and the Greta. Now our plans are named after prominent mid-century women in the LA region. And, we're still exploring getting permissions from their estates to be able to actually name them. But, it's pretty cool. And we used their personalities to help us and help inspire us for these designs. The Esther and the Harriet are 2 to 4 bedroom layouts. When you go to each home, it's really cool. So not only do we have like all of these gorgeous images here for you to browse through, but we have these exploded plans. And we have this really cool 3D walkthrough thing. So you can like walk through and, look at the whole house here and, just do this sort of walkthrough tour. And all of our homes have our 2 single floor plans have an atrium as well. And so the difference between the Harriet and the Esther, this is the Esther. The Esther has a great room that goes all the way through, front to back, and then the bedrooms are on the other side. All of our plans are mirrorable, and they all fit on, as long as your lot's 50 by 100, any of these designs will work. And we also have pricing with a date starting at. So that was also something that people were asking for. And so the Harriet, the difference between the Harriet and the Esther is that, and again, we've got these cool, 3D walkthroughs here. The difference between the Harriet and the Esther is that whereas the Esther was front to back, the Harriet features either the great room on the backyard in the garden or the great room in the front that we call the sidewalk plan. So, so you can decide which, maybe you have a lovely backyard and you want that privacy, or maybe your backyard is kind of small and, you'd rather have a more open face to the street. But either way, and again, we can easily adapt these, add more bedrooms. The Harriet also has accessible bathroom options and for aging in place. So we've thought about that too. And then I'll just go to the one more here because I don't want to spend too much time. See, I can really go down a rabbit hole on these. The Riley, now this is something that I don't think anybody else is offering in pre-designed plans. The Riley is a duplex. So on one side, we have a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, single family home. And on the other side, we have a 1-bedroom, 1-bath ADU. And so once again, I mean, look at how light filled this is, a very generous upstairs hall, a beautiful light filled primary suite. And then, lots of privacy too. So, we've really got a lot of options for people. And what's really cool too is, once again, this fits on, if your site is 50 by 100, it fits on it. And I really recommend downloading the catalog, because this is where we really get into the detail about the thinking behind these homes. What our passions are, what our inspirations are. And we talk about pricing. We talk about how they're designed, the architecture behind them, and then the homes themselves. And, we talk about Vision Builder and our trusted partners and sustainability. So in that, I think, is where we're going to begin our panel discussion. So Sarah, if you could get us into the next, there we go. Without further ado, so let me just give a brief overview of who we have here today. So we have Mike Donovan from EcoSIM, which is an established European low carbon concrete company, and he can tell you more about what they do. We have Matt Sexton with Badass Energy. Unfortunately, we had an issue. Mike Henriksen with HPT, he's not able to join us. I think there's a technical issue happening. But you know, we can still talk more about. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with our HVAC system, so I can talk a little bit about what it is we actually install, and you know, we can talk about that. But anyways, maybe let's hand it off to. Well, I'll introduce the whole piece here for a second. Sorry, I was a little distracted because I was texting with Mike, but anyways. So the thing is everybody talks about fire resistance, okay? But what we do at Phoenix is we do fire resilience. And Sarah, what's the difference? So resistance is safety now. Resistance is basically like, okay, my home is going to survive, hopefully, this next fire, okay? Whew, okay, made it. That's not enough. Resilience is not only resisting this fire, but the next fire and the next fire, and also helping to reduce the causes, the reasons that we have all these fires in the first place. You know, if you're building a home that resists fire, but that home is still contributing to the same problems and making those problems worse, then it's not solving the problem. You know, so that's really, really important with us at Phoenix, you know. And you know, I think a lot of us probably understand this by now, but you know, so climate change is fueled by, you know, CO2 emissions and things like that. And that makes our wildfires get worse and worse. Homes are destroyed. We rebuild with wood. The wood burns and puts CO2 back in the atmosphere. And then we you know, start the whole cycle over again. And so enough, right? And, you know, I'm a legacy, what's called a legacy lead AP. I was one of the first lead APs in San Diego in 2003. And I was with the USGBC when we were starting lead out. And so it was a really long time ago that I stopped asking clients if they wanted their house to be green. You know, it's not an option. You know, if I'm designing a building, it's going to be green. And so this is from our catalog for the portfolio homes, but it's true for every Phoenix home. All of the things on the left there in those first 3 columns, that's every single Phoenix home has it. It's just, you don't have to pay extra. You don't have to ask for it. Every single Phoenix home has those things. So we really are, we walk the talk. And so I think now let's start out with Mike Donovan from EcoSIM. And so Mike, why don't you give us a little intro as to who you are and what EcoSIM does?
Thanks for having me on. I always get excited when I hang out with you. So this is a fun format. It's why I'm still working. Get to have a little fun here and there. But you know, I've been in the concrete industry for over 40 years, and so it's been kind of interesting. The first 20 years, I called it my learning cycle. I worked in all kinds of different industries. I worked cement industry, worked in ready mix, but early on, I was exposed to all kinds of different concretes, and it's kind of fascinating. You know, if my wife's not with me at a cocktail party, we can talk about it, but otherwise she won't let me talk about it. But, you know, I've designed concrete, you know, I've designed all kinds of concrete structures, heavyweight concrete, lightweight concrete. I've done spun concrete poles, bridge decks. I've done pipe, block, railroad ties. I mean, you name the kind of structures, and I've been involved in these, and I'm on the material side, so I'm the structural engineer, I'm a professional engineer, but I'm on the material side, so I'm always the guy on the ready mix side or on the cement side, designing the structures, and I just think concrete is one of the most amazing materials around. But the interesting thing, in the second half of my career, I kind of stumbled into going green. Concrete, has a little thing, we'll talk about it. Part of the problem with me wanting to talk about my second half of my career, you got to understand what the problem is with the first half of my career. But I really enjoy the concrete, but I'm going to transition now to another slide here and kind of talk about concrete. And a lot of people have these questions, but concrete has a challenge. The issue is cement production is responsible for 5 to 8% of the carbon dioxide produced each year. That's a huge number, but the problem is the number is really not, for the concrete, is not bad. The problem is we need to reduce it. So we need to reduce it, but the problem is the scale. Now, the interesting thing on the scale is what people don't realize, and I have a little thing here. The cement is the glue in concrete, right? We have a lot of aggregates. It's only 11%, around 11% of the concrete is cement, but that cement has got 85% of the CO2 attached to it in that embodied carbon. And it's interesting. The problem is concrete is the second most used material in the world. Guess what the first one is? Water. So we produce over 30 billion yards or tons, I say, 30 billion tons of concrete every year. So it's not really it's more of a scale problem than it is a CO2 problem. We just use so much of it, and we produce so much cement and so much concrete that, we need to figure out, all right, how do we lower this CO2 in the concrete? And that's what I've been doing the second half of my career. So if you want to, so I think you can go on the next slide. If you want to reduce the carbon footprint of concrete, you have to reduce the cement. And it's that easy. So the less cement used. So how do you do that? Well, we have companies like EcoSIM that are leaders in these low carbon cement technologies, and they're taking it to an all new level. I worked in a company called Central Concrete in the Bay Area, and we are the leaders in ready mix and reducing carbon footprint of our mixes. We brought the first environmental product declarations. They're called EPDs. And I know you all probably don't know what an EPD is, but if you know in your cereal box, you have the little thing that tells you how many calories and how much sugar and how much of that is. Well, now we have that for products. Then we bring these products to the United States. So we brought the first EPDs to the United States for concrete. So now you can look at it and say, wow, there's that much global warming potential in that concrete per yard. And now we can start comparing. And this has been going on. We did this years and years ago. And the rest of the country is now just starting to catch up with what we started at Central Concrete in San Jose in the Bay Area. We also are pushing the limits. Our biggest, I have to admit, I did not get into the green industry because I was a greenie. I just have to tell you, our first thing was to try to make money. And I'll tell you why we're trying to make money is our biggest competitor in the Bay Area was a cement company. And once we kind of figured out this green thing, we figured out they don't want to go there. That just means they're going to produce less cement. And that's the last thing a cement company wanted to do 15 years ago, right? So we said, all right, we're going to go green. We're not owned by a cement company. We're going to take all the cement out we can. And we did some phenomenal things. We produced mixes with half the amount of cement. We produced mixes with 70% replacement of the cement and made durable and better concrete. It was just kind of fun, exciting. We were leaders in the United States in being green. So that's the thing. So now I work for this EcoSIM, and what they're doing, and they're trying to bring a product. Well, let me tell you a little bit. I think the next slide will tell you a little bit about EcoSIM. They're going to produce a product called ACT, and right now they produce a product called slag cement, which is that GGBFS. And the problem with acronyms is that this one's pretty good because you'd rather say GGBFS than ground granulated blast furnace slag. Now they just call it slag cement. But you see in our product, instead of 100% cement binder, we only have 20%, maybe even 25, or not. United States maybe a little higher, but we're pushing we're putting a mineral powder in there, and it's acting like a cement, but it makes ultra high performance use of the cement and the slag cement. So you can see those in the my country. The company EcoSIM is based out of France. They're also Irish, and so that's good for my roots, the Donovans. So the Orion's family business that they've started. They're in France, they're in the UK, they're in Ireland, Netherlands, and so a big positive of my job now is I get to go over there every once in a while, and I'll go visit Europe. But this is the breakthrough. So if you want to get rid of cement, I don't know of any other anybody else who's actually got it down to 20% of the product is cement. So we're reduced that by 80%. So that's kind of interesting. So the next slide. All right. So I should before I leave EcoSIM, I probably ought to tell you a little bit more about EcoSIM, just because they do employ me. But they've been in business 25 years, and they even Bill Gates invested in them, and the Breakthrough Energy has invested in them. An admixture company has invested, which is very critical because we get access to the latest chemicals that help concrete. And part of the problem with doing these concretes like we're talking here, they don't act like normal concrete. So what the trick is, where all the science goes into is how to make low CO2 concrete act and look and finish just like regular concrete. And that's where all the science comes in. In order to do that, they have 5 labs and 1 innovation lab, multi-million-dollar innovation lab, where they have state-of-the-art equipment. They're putting 2.5% or so every year of their profits into R&D, just pure out R&D. And they're European companies. There's no politics in there over there. They're all trying to attack global warming, and they're going after it. And they have their own story, but their product is scalable and uses current technology. So there's a lot of neat things out there. I think it's going to take all of them, but there are a lot of neat things. But we can do this ACT product now. And what I'm kind of excited about is I met Laurie, and I won't say what bar we were at, but we were at a convention, and she got excited and was telling me about things. And of course, at a concrete convention, I can talk about concrete. So Laurie and I started talking about concrete, and she got excited. And right now we're trying and figuring out how to get enough product over from Europe such that we can build one of her homes in the LA market area. And we're looking at a home, and this home has about 315
350.
yard. Yeah, 350. But and then so if I take that and I get my napkin out because I'm an engineer, and I go in the back of it and I calculate the reduction just for this one home, mind you, we're going to reduce the carbon footprint by 60%. And that's actually about 40 tons of CO2 that's not going to be produced. Now, that's just one home, mind you. We talked about 30 billion tons of concrete, but one home in this process, 40 tons of CO2. Now, what does that equate to? If AI didn't lie to me, if AI did its job and didn't lie to me, I've got a couple examples of what that is. So that's the total amount of annual energy consumed by 5 or 6 homes in the US.
Wow.
That's like planting 1,000 to 1,500 trees and letting them grow for 10 years. I didn't know airlines were so bad. I've heard they were bad, but that's like avoiding 40 one-way flights from New York to Miami, or getting rid of 10 to 15 people commuting for a full year. So those are the kind of numbers. This is one home, and this is scalable, and this is, so we're excited about working. Now, I will tell you in my career, we talk about sustainability and we talk about green. In the early times, and Laurie will back me up, the early times when you talked about global warming and where you could have the most impact, it was not in the embodied carbon of the structure. It was in the HVAC. It was in heating and cooling. And the carbon footprint after the building was built was 70, 80%. Well, it only took 15 years, and now Laurie's talking about net zero carbon home. So guess what's left? The embodied carbon in the home. So the next level is to start bringing these homes and finding out ways to build them more and more sustainably. What I really love about this these homes is because if one of the projects I built in 2015 was a neat building called the San Francisco Public Utility building in downtown San Francisco. It was in the Tenderloin district, had all kinds of great things. It was a high-rise building. But one of the things the engineer, he called me up and said, how green can we be on the concrete? We did a lot of neat things. But he designed the building not to be destroyed in an earthquake because he said he knows in the next 30 years, San Francisco is going to have a big earthquake. And he didn't want to build a building and call it green and do all this stuff with the fact that it's not going to be there in 30 years because it won't withstand a large earthquake. So he designed the building to withstand a 9-point something earthquake and be immediately occupiable. And we designed the concrete to be low CO2. And so there's all kinds of neat things, but this is where Phoenix Homes is going, and I just think it's great. I think it's the whole package, and if you build a home to last, that's sustainable. We're not having to come back and build it again and reuse all this energy. We use it one time, and then we can move on. And I will tell you, we're going to continue to develop ways. I was talking to a startup in San Jose the other day that are actually making limestone rock and pulling the CO2 out of the air and creating rocks, kind of going backwards. We take limestone and create cement, but they're actually taking the CO2 and creating rocks that you can put in the concrete. So this is going to be a negative product. It's actually going to be removing concrete, removing CO2 out of the air and putting it back into concrete, into the rocks. And so if they can make that cost effectively and stuff, you're going to see where we're going to have negative CO2 products that we're going to be putting into these homes that bring you down to less than zero, even on the embodied carbon. So I see that.
That's where I can't wait for that day.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike. I'm just so excited. I can't wait for that day that we can have an actual carbon negative Phoenix home.
Well, I will tell you, it's been really interesting. I was in, the late 2008, 2010 is when I got involved in concrete in California. And it was slow going. And I'm going to tell you, and then it just slowly, and I was there for 9 years. And as I was leaving, things were starting to change. But it was 9 years of going after it and trying to talk to engineers and architects. And, this is what we can do. Let's start doing this. Why not? I can do it at cost. And that's the key. I could have done a lot more for a little bit more money, but right now there's no cost of carbon. So we got to do within the budgets we have. So no one's giving us money for reducing the CO2. But I think it's the right thing to do. So anyways, that's mine. I probably went over on my time, but thank you for letting me be here.
Well, that's really cool. Well, we're going to move on to Matt, and then we'll have, since Mike H isn't here, so we're taking up some of Mike H's time. But so, and I think the transition to Matt is perfect because we go from low carbon concrete to net zero energy. And then once Matt's done, then we're going to talk about, I'll just do a quick overview about what our HVAC system is, just so everybody can understand that a little bit. And then we can have a group talk. And I know that we've only got 10 minutes left, but, please stay with us if you can past 5:30. We'd love you. We talk a lot. So anyways, take it away, Matt.
Thank you, Laurie. And Andre, Noel, Sarah, so nice to see you guys again. It was great seeing you in Southern California recently at our meeting. But I am super stoked on this partnership and this relationship with Phoenix Development and all you guys and what you've been doing and all the hard work over the years that you've put into your company, Laurie. I quickly figured out how passionate you were about these homes when you reached out to me in 2024 on the Yosemite property. And when you told me about, your background and the vision that you have and the team that you have, I said, I got to be a part of this. And I was so honored to help you with that project in particular and to get that thing powered up with solar and battery. And once I learned that you guys are headquartered out of Southern California and you have so many other projects that are popping up from the Central Coast down to through Southern California, I wanted to stay along and in fact formed a partnership with Badass Energy Off-Grid Solutions because once the fires in the Palisades, Malibu, those regions had happened, I knew that I wanted to be a part of helping people rebuild and to bring reliable, more affordable, cleaner energy and giving people the freedom of independence and owning their own energy to those people that were going to stay in Southern California and rebuild a home. And so I love your core philosophy. Super glad to be a part of this webinar today. And I'm going to try to get through the slides as quickly as I can. I also want to acknowledge the founder of Badass Energy on the call, Tracy Woodburn. It's funny, his last name's Woodburn. It's kind of a play on words. We don't burn wood with Phoenix Homes. So no, super stoked to have Tracy on the call with us today. And if we can go to the first slide, I'll go ahead and start. So, you know, Badass Energy was founded in 2020 by Tracy when he saw that, you know, COVID happened, lockdowns were happening. People were going to be inside their homes using energy a lot more than they were when they were going to and from workplace. So he saw the future of what California and solar in California was going to become, which was a stressed out grid as more and more people were buying electric vehicles, working from home. More and more electronics are being purchased at every home. And now with the rise of AI data centers all throughout the state, there was going to be a crunch on the utility grid. So Tracy wanted to tap into an industry and market that mainstream solar companies were overlooking, and that's off-grid and hybrid power systems. And more people now are looking at ways of being as far off the grid as possible, like logistically as possible. Some people are even buying property now where there isn't any grid infrastructure there. And so Tracy wanted to be a pioneer in that, in that business, bringing that service, bringing that technology to folks that wanted true freedom and independence as much as they could. And for 95+% of society that is still tied to the grid, we can get people as far off the grid as possible now with the type of technology that we can provide. We are a data-driven and solutions-based company, so we always start by fully understanding the behavior of that property. And hybrid systems, solar systems, off-grid systems, it's not a one-size-fits-all. We really want to try to take a custom approach to every customer's needs. I know every different property that Phoenix is building is going to have a slightly different footprint. It's going to be bigger or smaller in square footage. Some homeowners are electric vehicle users. Some people are hot tub and swimming pool owners. We want to factor in all of those types of amenities in the home, so that way the homeowner fully can understand how much energy they can produce every month all throughout the year, how they're going to be able to store and manage their energy. And we're also going to be, on some of the projects, incorporating smart panels, smart load panels, to where they can see every single circuit in the home and the behavior of that home from the energy standpoint. So that's something that we'll be excited to kind of incorporate into our systems in 2026. Next slide. So we all know California is changing from the political landscape, all of the laws that are changing constantly, with the CPUC regulatory body always modifying what solar looks like for residential and commercial customers in California. We are staying up to speed and up to date with all of the legislature, all of the incentives, all of the programs that are happening in California. If you just want to kind of, Sarah, help me out by clicking through some of the bullet points. We all know wildfires are increasing. It's the new norm in California. And rather than waiting for local and city and state government to prepare themselves for what is going to be coming, we want to be ahead of it. So we're already promoting the fact that should your neighborhood or your region get struck with a wildfire or have a wildfire come through there, just so you guys know, the Palisades fire alone knocked out power for more than 400,000 homeowners in the region, not just the immediate burned out region. It was all the neighborhoods that were connected to that region's grid, and they were out for over a week. And so that is hard. Like, people don't realize how much they rely on electricity until they don't have it. And so we are really trying to make a big effort to let the public know that the technology is here, it exists. You can prepare your family. You can be ahead of anything that should be coming your direction in the future. And with the planned outages that could happen during the summer the summer period, it's always good to consider one of our systems. And I think our systems just couple and pair so well with the Phoenix development model of what Laurie and Andre Noel, Sarah, and everybody at Phoenix is doing. So we can go to the next slide. And if you want to just click through a few of these, okay. So we've actually been in business since, well, Badass Energy has been in business 2020. We have a combined experience. Our leadership team has a combined experience of over 35 years. So we've ridden the solar coaster in California for quite a while to see all of its changes. And to be honest with you, we're really excited for the technology that's mainstream, that's affordable, and that we can install now, because before people had solar panels, yes, they would see energy cost savings. They would be more green friendly, lowering their carbon footprint. But if the power grid used to shut down, they would also be without power, because there would be a rapid shutdown feature on their system to be compliant, to be safe, so power doesn't backfeed into the utility lines. Well, now with battery technology as robust, as powerful, and as user-friendly as it is today, now we've made that so much better as an offering for customers, homeowners, and business owners alike. So we like to take that customized approach. We always focus on real solutions that work for people based on not only where they are in 2026, but we like to ask questions about, families expanding later down the line, like what kind of things, could change in the future where people might need to use more energy. And the great thing about our systems is they're easily expandable. So if your energy needs change in the next 5 to 10 years, we want to circle back to you and see that we can meet those needs for you. So go to the next slide. Why do people do this? When I first got in the business, solar wasn't as affordable as it is today, and the utility rates were much less back then. So usually when people got into, a solar opportunity or an investment, they had to have really long-term projections, and they really just wanted to hedge the bet of what utility rates were going to become back then. Or they were really environmentally friendly and they wanted to do something different that was better for the environment. So that was what I saw when I first started. Now, with utility rate increases happening so often and so greatly, what we see in our industry now is people really just need to see savings as fast as they can, but then learning how much more freedom they have with a system that we can provide to them really makes it a sound investment. And we have the data now to show that power companies like Southern California Edison, as well as Pacific Gas and Electric, San Diego Gas and Electric, all these utility companies have increased somewhere between 30 and 40% just since 2020 alone. We used to tell people, we have data that shows that on average, utility rates increase about 8% per year. They used to laugh and almost fall back in their chair, and they said, no way power goes up that much. Well, now when we talk about power rate increases, they completely understand. I mean, it's a simple question to the AI, hey, how much has my power company increased the past 5 years? All of this data is transparent and people can find it for themselves. So our systems show tremendous savings, in addition to what Laurie was showing in her presentation with the insurance savings and all the other savings that can happen should you choose a Phoenix home. Now you bundle that with an energy system that hedges against inflation with the utility. We're seeing systems that can pay for themselves in under 8 years on average. And if utility rates get worse, our numbers get better. We always kind of show worst case scenario. So people feel good knowing that not only do they have cleaner energy, more reliable energy that they can control no matter what happens with the utility grid, but they're actually investing in something that's going to save them thousands of dollars over the next 25 years. So we really like to brag about that. Next slide. This is just another a chart that kind of shows the trajectory of what rate increases have happened. And actually, this is specifically due to AI data centers that have been built in California, and what they're going to project it, or what they're projecting to increase rates to, because of the demand at these large facilities. And in Southern California, I was just researching, I believe that they have 3 more inland that they're going to be building over the next 3.5 years. So we can stand firm that energy rates are not getting any cheaper, especially in Southern California.
Well,
Next.
this graph just really blew me away, because if what I understand, that blue line is what we just looked at on the previous slide, you know, if that historical trend continues, but that orange line, that's actually no, then we've got all of these data centers that are coming online. So that's in addition to the historic trend that we were just looking at.
Yeah, there's
pretty
many
mind-blowing.
reasons. Yeah, there's many reasons why utility rates have increased. More obvious, the obvious reasons are we are becoming more of an electrical society. But I mean, any of us who are natives to California and we've lived long enough to see a lot of the wildfires, unfortunately, stemmed from blown out transformers or utility line issues, storms, things that were, unfortunately, the utility companies were, I guess, to blame, or maybe there was enough evidence to show that they were at fault. Unfortunately, these companies are for profit, and they will pass rates down to the rate payer, and they spread out the rate increases over a 4 to 6 year window. So it doesn't happen right away. When that happens, it kind of gradually will happen. And then you couple that with AI data centers, and it's only going to exacerbate the rate increases. So we'll go next slide.
I think that's all and then I was going to switch to Mike, and so he couldn't be with us. So I'm just going to go very, very quickly over our HVAC specifications, because it is so important when we're talking about sustainability here, to talk about indoor air quality and the efficiency of our systems. So all Phoenix homes specify Mitsubishi, and these are mini split systems, but see, everybody thinks mini splits are just those wall units that you see on the wall in the hotel room, right? That's not what we're talking about. So this is a mini split system. And so, yeah, they do have the wall mounted units that you see there, but they also have all of these other units, and they also have ducted units. And so I'll show you that too. But so these are the different, so here are the, let's see, I've got a little pointer here that I can use. So these are all the outdoor units, the different sizes that we can use. So that's one reason why the Mitsubishi system is so efficient, because it's so versatile. So we only need to size what we use. And on any of these outdoor models, we can combine endless indoor units. So we typically do the horizontal ducted, but if you wanted, you can do, you know, the ductless models. The ceiling cassettes are kind of nice. And you can always do the wall mounted ones too, if you want. And so I'm going to show you the indoor unit. Let me see here. Here we go. So these indoor units, they're compact ducted fan coils, okay? And so what's so cool is that with these outdoor units, you can mix and match and combine different units to zone your entire house. So like on some of our new portfolio homes, like a 2-bedroom Esther, we're probably only going to have 2 indoor units. We'll have one that's serving the great room, and then we'll have another one that's serving the bedrooms. And again, these are ducted, so you don't have anything, you don't see anything more than you'd see in a normal house. So it's just the registers in the ceiling, just the same as you know, any other system. But the cool thing is that what this also enables us to do is we don't have to run ductwork all over the place. So ducts, the more duct runs you have, the more inefficient your system is. And so if you have your standard Carrier, heat pump, the big one that's sitting outside, and it's heating and cooling your entire house, you've got one thermostat probably in your great room. And then all the other
You're
rooms.
gonna take her outside?
Oh, say that again? Oh,
He's gonna take you, go.
oh, can somebody, I think somebody's not on mute. So if you have that one thermostat in your house, you're going to have different temperatures in different rooms, and you're not going to have that comfort. And let's say you have a great room that nobody's in most of the year. Well, guess what? With our system, you don't have to heat and cool that room unless somebody's in it. And when you do have somebody in it, they can set their own temperature and decide for themselves, what they want. The third key component to our HVAC system is energy recovery ventilator. This is your whole house ventilation fan. And these are awesome. So basically they circulate new air. They change your air all the time. And in a Phoenix home, that's really important because our homes are so airtight. And guess what? We're required to do MERV 13 air filters on them. So if there's a fire nearby, or if, maybe your neighborhood still has that smell by the time you move into your new Phoenix home, well, all the fresh air that you're bringing into your house goes through a filter. So you're not bringing in that stale outdoor air. Now, we of course have operable windows too. So on the nice days, if you can open up the windows and have fresh air going through your house, you always have that option. But if you don't want fresh air, if you don't want to open your windows, this is how you can also have fresh and pure air moving through your home. And it also, oops, go ahead.
It's Mike. I was just going to say the one thing that's amazing about these homes is they don't have drafts because they don't leak. And you're used to an old house where you're in a certain room and there's just this light breeze. That's why you have to have these air transfers. No air, if you didn't have it, the air would get stale. So it's very critical. I think it's very cool. Yeah.
Right. And so it's really important. And it also helps to regulate humidity. So they have these really nice, easy to use panels on, touch screens on the wall. And so, you can set the humidity factor that you want. You can have it go to turbo. Like, let's say you just made a bunch of fish or something, or you burnt a roast or whatever, and your house is full of smoke. Oh my God. You can hit the turbo boost, and in about 20 minutes, all of that stale air is going to be pushed out of your house. And the other cool thing about Phoenix HVAC systems and the way that we're installed is that we don't have any unconditioned space inside the building. So, this is something that I think people really aren't used to seeing. So, normally you have an attic, and if you pop your head up in the attic, it's like 120 degrees and it smells, and it's like, oh my God, this is awful. And that's where all your ductwork is. Not smart. Same token, if you have a raised floor and you've got that icky crawl space, I've always said nothing ever good happens underneath a house. So under a Phoenix, you're not going to see a crawl space for sure. But so all of our HVAC is within the conditioned envelope. And Title 24 Energy Code really likes that a lot. And so here's the thing to say too about, everybody talks about California going all electric and all electric buildings. The construction industry, once again, has not kept up with that. The codes have not kept up with that. Designing, one of the most difficult challenges, and here we can just transition into our little panel discussion too. And I would invite folks to ask questions. Sarah, it looks like you might have a question there already. Let's just open this up for discussion. But, you know, just a note here about how challenging it is to design and build an all-electric home and have it pass Title 24. So that's why a lot of people will see net zero ready or
Mhm.
all electric ready. It's very, very hard to achieve all of the efficiencies that you need in order to comply with Title 24 Energy Code and deliver an all electric home. Phoenix does it because we are so insulated and airtight. The whole house is efficient. So anyways, Sarah, do we have some questions?
I'm not seeing any questions yet.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw a chat message, but that must be me.
So I
But
have a
let
question
me,
for Matt while we're waiting. I'm
yes.
curious, do you guys do any DC lighting, or is you all convert everything to AC? Or do you run some
Oh,
DC?
oh, you mean
Some
like
light?
low voltage?
Yeah, well, you know, just direct current rather, you know, coming off the battery, or do you convert it all to
Oh,
AC?
no, it's all, yeah, we
All
invert it
AC, that's
all,
okay. I was just curious about that.
yeah.
Yeah, OAC.
Yeah. Um,
Or just traditional wiring, traditional plug in like you do normally homes, then that's great.
well, so, you know, I had a really good question for you guys. Because I think that, and I think this can just be our question to close out the discussion. Have you guys ever heard anyone in our industries link climate and wildfire and buildings and kind of make the connection? Either of you?
Is that a question for me, Lori?
You or Mike? I mean, if you've heard anybody talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of theories that go around about it. Everybody, I mean, California is a big mixing pot, and everybody has their reasons for why they are staying in California, because I know a lot of people who've left California because of all kinds of different quote unquote climates. But really what it is now, I'll be honest with you, is people from our perspective aren't as, they don't want what we do because of them wanting to be environmentally friendly as much or as often as they used to. Now it's like, we have to save money. We are trying to stay afloat in California. Our interest rates, or I'm sorry, our insurance rates are going up. All these things are, our grocery bill, our gas, all these bills are going up. So we need to look at a cheaper way to buy electricity. And we like those, you know, we like helping people save as much money as possible, but we don't sacrifice quality for what their goals are. And we always try to give them the right technology to help achieve what they want to accomplish with their energy based on their lifestyle. And they love to customize, you know, their energy around what they need, what they, you know, just people that are switching over, let's say from a gas vehicle to an EV, they're seeing all kinds of savings, you know, knowing that they could, you know, make their own energy, store it into a battery, but also, you know, store it into their vehicle, and they commute with it. And it's saving them a lot of money from not going to the gas pump right now. So,
Well, I mean, one thing that, you know, along with when I decided to stop asking people whether or not they wanted their house to be green, I also realized that nobody's going to go green if it costs more. I mean, sure, you'll have people here and there that get a real kick out of it, you know, and they have the money to spend and they can afford it. But true solutions, and it was the same when I started Phoenix, a true solution can't cost more than the standard. People, you know, especially people recovering from a wildfire, they just want to get into their home. They just want their home back. So, you know, any additional cost is going to deter them from taking that right path. And that's why we set out at Phoenix using design strategy and methodology to economize in other areas so that we can accommodate full solar and battery storage, so that we can accommodate concrete and steel construction, so we can accommodate a proper functioning, efficient HVAC system that's fully zoned with whole house fans and just better quality materials all around. Sarah, did we have a question?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, we have a question. What if we already have plans? How do we work with Phoenix? Is it a standard bid process?
It's not a standard bid process because we are design build. However, if you already have, it depends how far along your plans are. If you already have a full set of construction documents and you're ready to go into permit, that's going to be tough because we're going to have to not necessarily start over, but pretty close. If you have a floor plan and a concept design, we'd be more than happy to take a look at it. And so you're not starting from scratch, but you know, because we're not wood frame, because of the long span system, because of the way everything works, we do need to design the whole house because, you know, because of those reasons. But please reach out to us. I mean, you know, we'll definitely work with you and see what we can do.
Yeah, if you're willing to share, we're happy to let you know.
Yeah. Mike Donovan, did you want to?
So, I mean, it kind of responds to your answer. It's kind of interesting. I dealt with a lot of large buildings, and so the focus there is in earthquakes, right? And I'm in Florida, so the focus here is you know, hurricanes. But you know, your system handles all of those also. But you know, it's interesting. The residential homes, which always amazes me, is the amount of concrete in your home is not very much more. The amount of concrete in the walls is only like 30, maybe 40 yards of concrete, more than a wood home. Because, you know, and then what do you see in these residential neighborhoods that burn down? What's left? The concrete foundation, the floor,
Right.
the driveway, the sidewalk, right? I mean, it's just kind of an interesting, you know, so, you know, it just amazes me for just a little bit more concrete. We're building these concrete homes that, you know, are durable, withstand the elements. And, you know, I think the fire is actually, I may be wrong, but I don't remember back in 2008, 2010, that many fires. I mean, we've always had fires. There was fire season. Don't get me wrong. There was a big fire up in in Northern California, up in, you know, around the Shasta Lake, and there were some large fires in that area. So the fires have always been there, but I think they're just getting, you know, with climate change, they're getting more and more. So it's become much more on the radar now. And I think that's become, you know, it's not just earthquakes and tornadoes. You know, in other parts of the country, you got tornadoes and hurricanes, right? You got earthquakes and fires in California. So, you know, these homes actually apply for different reasons in different parts of the country. But,
Yeah.
you know, I will tell you, I live in a condo in Florida. It's a concrete one, by the way. But I'm unfortunately the vice president of the condo association, and you talk about insurance and electric bills through the roof. And Florida has the same issues as California. You know, we had it from hurricanes, and so our insurance rates were skyrocketing. And like you, Laura, I had, you know, we worked with their insurance companies that, guys, we're not directly on the beach and we're concrete. What the heck are you going to, you know, why are you charging us so much for insurance? And they gave us a tremendous discount when we finally made sense with them on our condo. You know, so it is interesting, but you know, different parts of the countries have different issues, but in the end, it's the same answer, right? It's the same answer. Build a durable structure, build it. And I mean, there's so many cool things about these homes. I told you early in my career, back in the 80s, I used to help rep an ICF system. But back then, they're only building, you know, custom expensive homes with those systems. And they were 20, 30, 40% markup. And, you know, I always thought that was crazy, but, you know, but they, you know, there was just some cool things. And so this industry has developed, and I just love the fact that you're combining all these elements together. And I hope we can work out where we're working with you on your homes in the future to provide the low CO2 concrete. So it's just I always get excited talking about ICF homes, and you're just bringing it to a whole nother level. So it's kind of cool.
Aw, thanks. Well, I mean, I get excited about all this stuff. I nerd out on a daily basis. And I'm so, I mean, just so people know, I mean, we haven't made it public yet, but one of our LA rebuilds will be one of EcoSIM's first pilot projects in the United States. And
Right.
so like he showed on that slide, I didn't know it was going to be that much carbon, Mike. I mean,
No, it's an amazing amount of, it's just kind of interesting. I mean, I always laugh. I used to drive an F-250 turbo diesel pickup truck, and people would look at me. I said, dude, I have so many carbon credits that I have to my name. I don't get them official, but I unofficially, with what I've done, we're just talking millions of tons of CO2. And I always laugh like, so let me drive my truck. I got a camper. So, but it is, but the numbers are gigantic. The numbers are huge, and it's just because of the sheer volume of the materials we use, right? So, the whole thing about, to me, if you talk about sustainability, we got to reuse and design. I mean, America has been building throwaway products and homes and structures and cars, and everything is built the last 5-7 years. And it's funny when you go to Europe and you stay places, oh, this apartment building is like 800 years old. It's been rebuilt 4 times. You're like, what? I mean, that's one of the cool things about going to like Italy. Oh, this is a 2,000-year-old structure, and you're like, what? And so those are, they did it right back then, and now we need to redo that and start building these homes to last again, and without major, restructuring, remodeling. And you and I've talked about it. I was in the utility pole business. I was doing concrete poles, and we used to test against wood poles because we were trying to, but all the wood poles failed the test because they're fast growth and they deflected more than they should. But the power company said, well, that's what we have. So, we had to design it to code, but they got away with crappy. And I kind of look at that as the same way at housing nowadays with the wood. I just don't think it's the same. It's not the hardwoods and all that of the old homes.
No,
It's fast growth soft wood that is more permeable, more prone to pest and more drying more. And so it's just I just think that the concrete is the sustainable way to go. And we're building this for, like you say, generations, not for 20
Not
years,
decades.
not 30 years.
Yeah, we just had to
we're
say
talking-
goodbye to Matt, unfortunately. So, so Sarah, if you want to bring us back to the end of the presentation, bring us home. Yeah, and so I mean, thank you so much, Mike, for joining us. Sarah, if you wanna take it away here.
Yeah, I'll just wrap us up. And I'll just leave you with this. You can build safer, smarter, stronger. You can build intentionally, and resilience is achievable. It can be done without sacrificing your design, the customization of your home, and being in the budget that you need. Again, this is not a theoretical model. We have been building these homes. They are wood free. They cost the same amount as a wood build. They are insurable. They're fully net zero. We can build them very fast. They can be fully custom, or you can start with a pre-designed and modify it to your liking. And this is a low maintenance home for the lifetime that you own it. And so you're going to save a lot of money just from the net zero and with the maintenance in itself.
And the insurance.
And the insurance, yeah. So I'd like to tell you about our next event. It's actually going to be live, which is super exciting.
In person, yeah.
In person. So we'd love to meet all of you. It's going to be in the Pacific Palisades. We actually was contacted by Stephen Crosby, and he's the grandson of Bing Crosby. He unfortunately lost his home in the Palisades fire. And he reached out to us because he was not planning to rebuild and he really wanted his family land to do more. And he offered us to build a demonstration home on his property. So we'd love to see you there. We have a grand vision for this home. As you can see here, it's one of the renderings of the outside. And we'll use the Crosby home as a living demonstration and a gathering place. We're going to host art openings, small concerts, cultural events, and we're really going to try to bring the community back together and offer it as a meeting space with rebuild workshops, just educating the public on what's going on and really offer it as a place of community.
Yeah, and offer it up to the community just as free meeting space, you know, to kind of create a you know, a little community hub, you know, during, you know, while everything's kind of recovering. So, you know, it's not a spec home. It's like we're going to build it, we're going to use it, and it's going to live. And then once the neighborhood has started to recover and come back, you know, then we'll see. But anyways, yeah, we'd love to have you join us. Sorry.
Yeah, well,
to
if you're
interrupt.
on our email list, make sure you're on our email list. If you're on this call, you probably are, but you can sign up at the bottom of our website, and we'll be sending out more details around that. And on site, you'll be able to see the materials that we build with. We have a small model of our long span system. You can touch and feel and see everything, and we can explain it to you more in depth in person. So we would love to see you there. Now that you've gone through this and you learned more and you want to know what happens next, if you have any interest in talking with us, if you have any questions, we are always here to answer any questions, whether you build with us or not. We really, truly want to educate people around non-combustible construction. If you want to send your address and photos of your property, any questions you have, just please reach out. You can talk to me directly. I do have a QR code here that will send you to schedule a time to chat with me. Right on our homepage, you can schedule your own time to chat and have a consultation, and I'd be more than happy to educate you or answer any questions that you have. And with that, I just want to thank you for your time. I want to thank our special guests for being here. I think this was such an amazing webinar. This is one of the best ones yet. So much knowledge. So just thank you, each of you, very, very much.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you. And thanks to Matt.
Yes, thanks to Matt too.
All right, everybody, take care. Thanks for stopping by, and keep in touch, please, please.
Thank you, Tracy, too.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Tracy.
Bye.
Bye.